Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bruno Talks with. It's a video series podcast where I'm having a different guests, we indie hackers, makers, creators from all over the world. We will be talking about things that are, let's say, relative to indie hackers and to their problems. Today we are talking about computer science degrees and not only we will not arguing about whether you need a computer science degree or not to do the job, but we will be talking about some nice stories from the people who don't have a computer science degree, and also we will be talking about things what you can do without this degree to make you some kind of passive income. So my guest today is Pete from No CS Degree, and I'm pretty sure that he has a lot of fun stories to share. So, hi, Pete, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks a lot for having me on.
So, first, when I encounter your newsletter, I mean, when I first spotted you, let's say that way, what you are doing, it was via this No CS degree newsletter. So you are running a newsletter specifically for this purpose. So when it started, how it started, how many subscribers do you have, or stuff like that. But the what I'm interested in is the motivation behind starting such a thing.
Cool. Yeah, so basically I started it just over a year ago, and I do have a newsletter, but it's a website as well. So it's nocsdegree.com. And basically I'd been learning to code on and off for a couple of years, and I was wanting to get more, to make some more progress. And basically I had a few friends online that I knew had done quite well without computer science degrees, and I'd talked to them and found their stories to be really interesting. So, for instance, there's this one guy who's, not incredibly famous in the maker world, shall we say, but his name's Richard, and like, yeah, last year he was 21 and making like six figures, and like he dropped out of school, learned to code, and making like a six-figure income at 21 is just pretty incredible when you haven't been through college or any Ivy League or any boot camps or anything. So I thought that was a really cool story, and it kind of like motivated me to keep on going with coding. And I just kind of figured, I looked on Twitter, which I use a lot, and I saw that there's lots of other people that were kind of, doing free code camp, or they're going to boot camps, or they're teaching themselves in other ways. And there just seemed to be this kind of tribe forming, but they didn't really have a name or a grouping. And I was like, oh, I'm part of that tribe. And then I was like, well, if I find stories like Richard getting to six figures at age 21 interesting, I'm pretty sure other people will. So yeah, I put the website together, and I knew that a newsletter would be important for getting people to come back to the website. And yeah, just took it from there, really.
Yeah, cool. Well, I myself, I don't have a computer science degree. I'm also a software developer, but recently I'm into all of this indie hackers and makers world. So I just recently started with all of this. So so yeah, you are, if I understood it correctly, so your newsletter is actually sharing these pretty much cool stories from the people that are making things without having this degree. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. There's kind of like a kind of a mix between people um, that have learned code and are getting jobs at good companies. So I've interviewed people that work at Stripe or Apple or Google or tons of other huge companies. So there's some people that are want to learn to code and then get really high, well-paying job, and then there's other people that I interviewed that are like, no, I want to learn to code so I can run my own company and be an indie hacker. So I kind of interview a range of different people for the newsletter and the website.
Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of people. There is the whole movement on Twitter. Of people who are learning to code by themselves, and actually there are some pretty interesting showcases and what those self-taught developers are actually making. And as you said, yeah, I didn't haven't realized. I mean, I haven't. Thought about that way. So there are people who are learning and to get some I don't know position, some jobs, but there are also people who are learning just to actually to make things. And also, yeah, I would like to mention this. I saw that you said if I mean, this is just a call for the listeners. So if you also have some kind of cool story that you want to share, and I believe Pete can share you. I mean, I'm inviting you, and Pete will now maybe say a few details how you can also end up in this kind of story and in the newsletter.
Yeah, sure. So what I can do is we can put a link in the description of the video, and yeah, I do have a type form where people can just add a few details, and yeah, I'll take a look at it. Obviously, kind of like I want to like have what I think are interesting stories. So it's I mean I do totally welcome everyone to get in touch, and especially people that are especially women or other people from other groups that aren't so well represented in tech, because I do want to show that everyone can code, and that's really important. So, but yeah, just like I guess if especially if you've made a cool website, or a lot of my most popular stories and the ones that I like best are people that are kind of like struggling to overcome. And one of the stories that I really like is this guy Mariano, who is from Argentina, and he learned code and he works remotely. So he works for like American companies, but he lives in a small town in Argentina. So he's doing the kind of the reverse arbitrage, because usually it's kind of with arbitrage, it's usually Westerners, with big salaries living in Thailand, whereas he's kind of like flipped it around, and he's earning like
He's doing other way
yeah,
around.
he's getting like the big US salary, earning like six figures, but he lives in a small town in a country where you probably need $1,000 to live to live, and he's making far more than that. So that's cool. And there've been other stories like a woman who was working as a waitress in the States, and she was working full time, and every day she would come home and like learn coding. She'd do like Udemy courses in her evenings, and then like she became a developer. So I mean, obviously every story like I'll check out, but if you've got some like really ridiculous story, like going from a minimum wage job to being a developer, obviously that's going to get more attention, I guess.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm also inviting everyone, yeah, just to submit. And if Pete is if it's cool story, yeah, Pete will for sure consider it. And how do you actually find people? How do you find stories? Do they apply via your form, or how do you find them?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a mixture. So quite a lot of people will email me in and tell me a bit about themselves, which is always nice. I guess when I launched originally, I kind of went viral on Hacker News. So I got like 30 people emailing me in their story in one day. So that was awesome. So I had like a big like backlog straight away for the first few months. And then after that ran out, I was, contacting friends and asking people on Twitter. And it's quite good on Twitter because you quite often see people celebrating uh, like their first job position and saying that they got hired. And then like loads of people retweet that. And so it's quite easy to find those posts. And then I'll just send them a DM and tell them, hey, I run this website where I interview developers for like CS3s. do you want to share your story? And but it's really nice as well because a lot of people have been very supportive about my project. So I'll quite often get friends sending messages saying, "Oh, I just heard about this person that just got a job. You should interview them." Or this person just made a really cool product and is making six figures and they don't have CS3, so you should have a chat with them. So yeah, there's a variety of ways, but yeah, we'll put a form in the description of the video, and then people can get in touch with their story and tell me a bit about
Yeah,
themselves.
definitely. Yeah, we will put a lot of links in the description. So I'm always saying that to my guests. But what's important here? I mean, what I see as a really good example that you actually, as you said, you find and identify a tribe. So this is kind of pretty much important when you want to launch something, be it like product, be it like a course for, I don't know, learning to something or whatever. You need to actually to put a name on it, so to identify it and to say like and that's as at least how I see it, easier than to sell. So then you with a few words you can sell to someone what you are doing, not in terms of selling to get money, but also to get on track and to, I don't know, to talk immediately, so that the other side immediately knows, okay, so he is doing, for example, if you say no CS degree and you are sharing these successful stories of people who don't have that, then the other side can immediately know what to expect. And for me, this is pretty much important thing that also I would like to emphasize and to say whoever is listening. So if you are about to start doing anything, making anything, whatever, so find a tribe, identify it, identify the it doesn't have to be problems, so you didn't identify problems of this tribe, but there is a desire to hear those stories, to I don't know, to read about the success. It can be motivational, it can be whatever.
Yeah, I think as well, like I totally agree with what you're saying about finding a tribe, but it's also like a crucial thing is it's really important to be in that tribe because there's lots of tribes, like for instance, I don't know, lots of people like basketball, and I'm aware of that, but I don't like basketball or play basketball. So if I made like, I don't know, a chat or like a forum or a newsletter for basketball players, that's a well-defined tribe, but I'm not a member of that, so I don't know what those people like. So it's definitely a lot easier to look at your life and think, okay, what tribes am I in? So, oh, I'm an indie hacker, or I'm a developer without a CS degree that's learned to code, or you're, I don't know, whatever identities you have. So yeah, it's a lot easier once you're, because you already know kind of like what the problems that you have, and you already know what solutions are already. Whereas I think lots of people, especially people that read, I don't know, certain business books, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to make an app for, a dentist or something like that. But if you're not a dentist, how do you know what a dentist wants from an app and stuff like that? So I think it's a lot better making stuff for yourself. And that's where an added benefit comes from. Maybe if you have more like I know unusual hobbies or different interests, then that's good because you're gonna be in a tribe that's not being catered for by like a huge company. So like a good example is like Peter Levels was, digital nomads. That was like especially, 5 or 6 years ago as a it's getting big now, but it's a really small group of people. So yeah, if you can identify like a small niche, then that's a really good place to start.
Yeah, that's a really great example with the Peter levels, and yeah, as you said, it's in the beginning it was really really small audience, really small tribe, but eventually it growed. And definitely I agree with you. So you definitely have to be within that tribe because it's your everyday inspiration. So it's not like so you are not like asking what could be the next thing that I can do, or what's the next problem I can solve for this when you are within the tribe. So you actually know by yourself. I mean, you are solving your own problems. And so definitely this is these 2 points. So define a tribe, as you said, basketball players or supporters or whatever. It is well-defined tribe, but if you are not within that, I mean, you know maybe general things about basketball, but after a few newsletters or whatever features in your app or whatever, you will run out of the ideas and you will just stop. So it's running out of gas. So another topic I want to talk with you is your book, The Imposter Syndrome, where you even launched it on Product Hunt. So it's in general, so it's you were interviewing like 20-30 people, and you were writing about their stories, and some of them are like as you even mentioned it before, some of them are working at Stripe, or I don't know at which companies. So what was the process of making that book, and how it was like the route, the when you decided to start writing a book?
Yeah, that's a good question. So really, it's just like it's a collection of quotes and what people have said in all the interviews about imposter syndrome. It's just the fact that I've interviewed, I think at the moment I'm close to about 100 people. And yeah, a few months ago, or maybe halfway through, like since I launched it, I started asking people about imposter syndrome, and I noticed it's quite a common thing. Lots of people that maybe they're switching careers, they don't have this, a computer science degree or that background, and it's quite common, I think, to feel quite intimidated, especially nowadays with all the, there's so many languages and frameworks that you could possibly learn. So yeah, really it was a case of just going through the interviews I have on my website and just taking parts about imposter syndrome. And then I was like, oh, well, I could just like take all those parts and make a kind of like highlights, uh, edition just on one theme. So yeah, and it was quite simple to make. You can make an ebook really easily these days. So you can just go into Google Docs and write all your content, and then you can go to somewhere like Canva, and you can design a cover there for free, and then you can copy and paste that cover onto the first page of your book, and then save it as a PDF or as an EPUB book, and you can convert it for the format for Kindle if you want to sell it on Amazon. And yeah, then you can just put it in Gumroad or Podia or Amazon or anywhere. So yeah, it's super simple to publish.
Yeah, yeah, that's also one of the topics I wanted to mention. So this releasing, when we are talking about releasing a ebook or self-publishing an ebook, or people are often like, no, I cannot write a book, but people are thinking in a standard, let's say a standard way, or I don't know. People are thinking like it's kind of writing the, I don't know, the old representation of book. But today, writing and publishing ebook it can be a lot different. I mean, with all the respect to all the writers and who are publishing, let's say, real books. This is pretty much become popular and also easy, as you just described. So you open Google Docs and you write of content. Of course, you need to know what you will be writing about. But for example, even this Gumroad platform is offering you like you don't even have to worry about anything. You just put your content there, and especially if you are right about interesting things, yeah, people will buy it. Sometimes they will buy it to support you, but sometimes they will also buy it to find out what's in the book. And what about these people that you are interviewed? Did you know them before, or they come one by one? I mean, after you interview one, that someone introduced you to another person, etc. Or did you already have some collection of persons who?
Yeah, originally, so I started last July, and I think last June I spent a few weeks just like collecting stories from people. So I think I had like 10 in reserve when I started, and then when I launched on the website, I had four because I was like, which was a smart decision because I realized, you can't really launch a blog with one article because that's not very substantial. But yeah, it went viral on the first day, so I'm glad that I had, four articles. But yeah, the first 10 were people I knew from, Twitter and Telegram. So a few groups and communities I'd recommend would be WIP, which is work in progress. So that's whip.chat. And that's a Telegram group. And another one is MakerLog. And yeah, I think those two, Twitter and Indie Hackers, are four like awesome communities that people should join. And so yeah, it is people that I'd been chatting to there, and I'd heard their stories. And then I was like, yeah, I think it was really nice as well because I think everyone that I asked was like, yeah, sure, I'll share my story. So that's cool.
Yeah, I have similar experience, but not with a writing book. But as you said, everyone who I asked said, "Yeah, I will do it." So same with the podcast and this what we are recording here. So I had the idea. Okay, I will approach these people, and as you said, approaching it via Twitter, or I don't know, finding their emails, or I mean, they usually have them public and stuff like that. So it's pretty much like people are willing to cooperate, let's say,
Yeah.
and yeah, to create the content. And I know that you are also doing some additional, let's say, you are playing with some additional sources of money income. So you are also recording a video course of monetizing newsletter, if I understood it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, September's becoming a really busy month. So yeah, I've got my main thing. So I've got three products that are coming out this month on Gumroad. So one of them is a course about monetizing your newsletter because basically when I first launched the website, I started with a newsletter, and I was able to get a sponsor for the newsletter on the very first day, which is pretty cool. And I got it wasn't like a huge amount of money, but it was like $7.50. But now I charge like $125, which is quite nice for like, I mean, that's literally like a couple of lines of text at the start of an email that I send out. So it's pretty good money. And yeah, I had kind of lots of people contacting me about how to get sponsors and, how to monetize a newsletter. So I just kind of thought, oh, well, there's quite a lot of demand for this. And in fact, one of my friends was saying to me, like, there's literally nothing online about how much to charge or how to find sponsors or when can you monetize a newsletter, like how many subscribers do you need to have. So I was like, well, yeah, it seems like quite a good opportunity to share what I've learned. And so yeah, I'm just at the stage now where I'm finishing up the course, so it's going to be released in a week's time. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I go over how to find sponsors, how to find affiliate income, how to make like a premium newsletter, because sometimes it's better to just have your own content. Not every newsletter has an audience that's maybe going to appeal to sponsors, but it might just be best to, make a premium only newsletter or have premium content. So yeah, I just think newsletters are really popular right now, but it's a shame because lots of people, to be honest, have got huge lists, but they're not making any money from them. And it's like, if you could be making money from
Yeah,
them.
there's
uh,
definitely potential
yeah,
there.
so hopefully I can help some people out, which would be awesome. And yeah, sorry to carry on. I've got two other things where I've got a product called Revenue Reports, which is kind of looking at the business models and marketing tactics and pricing strategies that different indie hackers have used. And that's basically a kind of PDF report that I'm doing for lots of different founders. So I'm looking at people like Peter Levels, Andre Asimov, who hit 10K a month recently with his product, which is like you can make a website from Google Sheets basically, and a whole bunch of other entrepreneurs that I'm kind of looking at in loads of detail, because the good thing is I kind of like read about this and follow people really closely. So I kind of figured I've got lots of knowledge. Like, I don't know, I know how much Peter Levels charged for a job ad 4 years ago or whatever. So I have all this knowledge, which isn't necessarily very easy to find, which I can share with people. So that's cool. And my final product of this month is I'm going to be doing a premium Zoom webinar with 4 guests. So that includes people like Scott Keys, who has Scott's Cheap Flights, which is basically a newsletter where he sends you cheap flight deals, and he's making, at the last count, he's making $4 million a year from that. And I've got some other really cool, exciting people like Ben Tossell from MakerPad, and yeah, loads of other people as well that's going to be on that. So yeah, September's gearing up to be a busy month.
Yeah, that's really nice to see, and it's pretty much a big variety of different content that you are creating. So it's not like just like okay, I'm doing the video course and I will doing video course on this, on that, blah blah blah. But you are shifting your so you are creating totally different types of content. So it's a PDF report, it's a video course, it's I don't know, in this Zoom meeting, which is it interactive or
Yeah. Sorry, something I should have clarified. Yeah, the part of the appeal is it's interactive. So basically, what it's going to be is that I have guests on, and half the time I'm asking them questions and doing a straightforward interview, like we're doing just now. But then in the second half, people can ask questions. So I just figured that lots of people, interact all the time on Twitter, but it's not often that you're on a video call with like, really successful founders where you can just ask them questions. So like, I mean, Scott Keys has been running his Scott's Cheap Flights for, I don't know, maybe something like 5 years or so, but he's making millions out of that. And it's not every day that you can ask someone like that questions about, their tips or their business model or how they grew their business. And yeah, Ben Tossell is making like $50,000 a month now, which is crazy with MakerPad. So yeah, again, you can hop on call and like ask Ben questions about how he made his business. So yeah, I just think it's a really fun thing to do, and yeah, hopefully other people enjoy it as well.
yeah, really cool. But what I want the main takeaway from this is that you don't actually necessarily I don't know to create for example web app or mobile app or whatever, some digital product. So you can also do these kind of things like as I said, as a side income, as a passive income. I mean, I tweeted the other day there is no such a thing as passive income. So there's a lot of active force that you need to put into that. So passive income is just like, I don't know.
No, that's a really good point. There's lots of yeah, I don't really like using the word passive income because it sounds a bit like internet scammy, where it's like people think that there's no work involved. So it's kind of yeah, I think it's like you do a lot of work at the beginning, and then yeah, after that, okay, you're not working for every unit sold, but yeah, there's still work involved. It's not like you can just lie in a hammock and just not do anything. But yeah, I think there's lots of ways that you can make a living now. And yeah, I was kind of tweeting the other day that I'm really grateful that despite despite what's happening in 2020, it is really good that we have places like indie hackers and Telegram groups and Twitter, and we can charge people on Gumroad or with Stripe and stuff like that. So yeah, you can make a newsletter really easily. Like the first most newsletter providers or like email clients like MailChimp or Email Octopus or whatever, most of them give you 2,000 subscribers for free to start off with. So yeah, it's like I'm really glad that I'm doing this now and not 20 years ago, which would have been way harder. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Today is you have all of these services, platforms, and uh, just the resources to start doing it. Well, yeah, you need to know as we speak. You need to define the tribe. You need to know what you want to build, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, I don't know, some high tech product or whatever. So it can also be any kind of product, anything that you know to how to do. So, for example, if you I don't have example actually, but what I wanted to say, if you know how to do and if you can talk about it for days with different peoples, and you always come up with I don't know, you can come up with some interesting points in the conversation. So this is kind of indicator that you know what you are doing, and maybe you should shape it in some kind of product and sell it. So yeah, and also I think you will agree with me. I'm also saying to some of my colleagues and I don't know to some friends, don't buy stuff that people want. Don't make stuff that people won't buy. So there's also a thing that you need to identify: is there a demand for it? So that's also
Yeah. I think one thing I'm doing at the moment, which is proving to be helpful, is Gumroad has a feature where you can make something a pre-order. So say if you're releasing like an ebook, you can, and it's coming out on like 1st of October, you could start selling it now and then say, okay, it's coming out in a month's time. And then you can see ahead of time how many people are interested and how many people are buying it. So I think, I'm not sure if we talked about it or not before, but I've been reading a really good book recently called The Mom Test, which is like all about it's basically a book about getting, customer feedback and learning from that. And I think, yeah, it kind of talks about things like the common thing is like you talk to your friends and say like, hey, I've got this app idea, would you buy it? And your friends are your friends, so of course they're going to be like, yeah, of course I'd buy it, that sounds awesome, or yeah, that's brilliant. But that's not really worth much because you're not asking them to actually pay you. So the good thing with I mean, it doesn't have to be Gumroad, it can be anything, but if you if you say to someone, hey, I've got this product I think it's really cool, it'll help you with X, Y, and Z, here's a payment link, then you can see if they're really interested. And that's a lot more effective, um, to a way to like validate someone's interested in your idea, because obviously you could get like 1,000 people saying oh, it's brilliant, but if no one, then maybe nobody actually wants to buy it. So it really cuts through the noise and gets people to think, oh, do I actually want to buy this or not?
Yeah, and yeah, I know about that book, and in general, this is a nice approach to validate. So with the pre-orders, and especially, for example, if some platforms are offering that they will charge the credit cards after you publish, so it's not like giving you money in advance.
Yeah.
So that's also a thing, and also asking your friends, is this a good? For me, it's like when you invite friends for a dinner, and after the meal is finished, you are asking, "Was it good?" Nobody is going to say like,
I've
"Nah."
never thought of it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about that in one of my blog posts earlier. So that's how I see it. So everyone is will say it like, yeah, that was good, but you don't get a validation, so you don't know, is it like good, or is it like I don't want to offend you, but yeah, it was
That's
good.
really
It
good.
was really nice that you invited me.
I'm gonna totally steal that, Bruno. But that's really good because yeah, no one's ever gonna be like, oh well, the potatoes were disgusting and the vegetables were cooked, and yeah, it felt really bland, and I'm sorry I came, and yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, the best way to see if someone wants to buy something is to actually get them to buy it and send them a payment link and just be because yeah, I've had loads of people over the last couple of years being like, oh yeah, I really like that, or yeah, I'll have to get that sometime. But now I just be like, okay, here's a link. You can just cut out the rubbish.
And I think we also share some one more thing. I read somewhere that you wrote. People shouldn't worry too much about technologies and tech stack and everything. It should be about the ideas, about the reason, about the execution, and so maybe some thoughts on that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of yeah, I don't know, I don't want to come across badly, but it just yeah, it gets irritating when people just keep on asking, "What's your stack?" And because it just doesn't matter. Like to give you some examples, like so Peter Levels runs Nomad List and Remote OK, and just now he's making $600,000 a year, and he runs that on PHP, which most developers are like, oh, PHP is horrible. He doesn't have any like frameworks. He uses jQuery. Again, developers will be like, oh, that's ancient tech, but he makes like far more than most developers, right? So there's him. There's people like, Pat Walls makes 12K a month at the moment. He's using Ruby on Rails, which again isn't so trendy. Lynn Tai makes key values. She uses Node. So like loads, you can make money with any stack. It doesn't matter. And loads of people like Ben Tossel's MakerPad is making 50K a month at the moment, and that's all on like Webflow. So yeah, I don't want to come across as rude, but I think it's just people get very fixated about what technology you use. And I mean, to be fair, I used to do that when I was starting off because I think the thing is people see someone that they like and then they're like, oh, if I use their stack, that's like the magic key to make money or to be successful or whatever. So, but yeah, it's just kind of like you can use whatever. There's loads of programming languages, there's loads of blog platforms. You can make money using Ghost or Substack or WordPress or whatever. So it's, yeah, I guess like there's just, yeah, it just doesn't totally interest me when talking about all these stacks. I'm just kind of like, I just want to make something and share it with people. I'm a lot more interested about sharing like ideas and vision and like how to get people to use it and how to like make money from your ideas. That I find more interesting than what language you use.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, for example, especially developers fall into that trap. They mix two things. Sometimes they want to learn new technologies, and sometimes they want to build some product. And they usually mix those two and say like, okay, I'm going to learn XYZ with this idea. And often both of them collide and block each other. Sometimes you end up, you cannot configure. So, for example, you cannot connect to the, I don't know, EC2 instance on AWS and it bugs you for days while your idea is, I don't know, waiting in line. And then it can also be like you need to implement something in your idea, but it's repetitive task for the technology. So you implement this and then implement it again and again, but maybe just a different page, and you get bored. And people are when they combine those two, it often leads to unfinished project, either because you get tired of the repetitive tasks of the, I don't know, technical task, or maybe you just stop progressing because of some technical issue, and that can be dangerous. Yeah, but the main thing that I wanted to say, like, focus on the idea and start producing. Don't look which tech stack you are using. Is it cool? Is it not cool?
Yeah, I think, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, like I guess another example to take it away from developers for a second is like when I was in my 20s and at university, I used to DJ, and back then, yeah, everyone would be so fixated on like, oh, what music software people use to make their tracks and stuff like that. And you'd get like some really like massive hits that use, you know, the free synth that you get with the music software, or they just use the presets. And those some of those songs might be like top of the charts, or like be, you know, sell millions or make someone really famous. And meanwhile, some other developer is like, oh no, you have to use like a vintage synth that costs, you know, $10,000, and you have to treat your room properly. And there's other people that are like, oh, I'm just going to make a track with like my laptop computers, and they're making a career. So it's really kind of just, yeah, don't get bogged down in trying to satisfy what some people think is like good code or whatever. Just, I mean, the at the end of the day, it's just like, if, to use the DJ example, a bunch of people on a dance floor don't care how someone made the track. If it's like a vintage synth or if it's a free synth from Ableton, they just want to dance. So I think the same thing with your website. People, if someone goes on a website or an app, they just want to use it and they want it to solve their problems. They don't care like what cool stack you use or whatever.
Yeah, so definitely it's not just a problem in software
Yeah, sorry,
development.
that's a
as,
massive
as
rant. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I would like, I don't know, maybe just to ask you a few more casual questions, not related to this, maybe even one question. I don't even know. But yeah, what is Pete doing in the free time? So I mean, this all of this thing is like what you actually, I don't know, make to earn some money, let's say that way. But what are your hobbies besides this, what you are doing in free time, what you are enjoying doing?
Sure. Yeah, well, I really like doing exercise. I just came back from a 5K run, and so that's really good. I'm part of a running group here in Edinburgh, Scotland, where I live. So yeah, running's like a great favorite of mine. I did like a big like 70-kilometer cycle yesterday, so getting really into cycling. So yeah, I think staying active is really good and really fun. It's nice to kind of take a break from your laptop and get outside and have some fresh air and enjoy the scenery. So yeah, there's that. I also really like reading, so I'm reading Crime and Punishment at the moment. So that's my kind of like the hard book that I'm reading just now. Because I do I have really discovered fiction this year because I don't want to be, it's quite easy to burn out if you're working on your business all the time. And then when you put your laptop down, you're like, oh, I'm just going to read this business book. And it's like your brain needs something else. And I think as well, it just makes you a more interesting, rounded person. Like, I think if I see my friends, they probably don't want me to talk about business all the time. Whereas if I'm doing running or cycling or reading fiction, I've got a bit more interesting things to talk about probably. And yeah, I mean, I really love travel, but obviously with COVID, I'm not doing that right now. So yeah, who knows? Maybe if COVID, I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen with it, but maybe next year I'll be able to travel a bit. But at the moment, yeah, at the moment it's pretty much work, work, running, cycling, and reading are my main things.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, this is kind of things. Yeah, just I want to bring from my guests so that you don't, for example, tweet a lot or I don't know. And for example, you mentioned cycling, and last year I was more active. This year, not so, but cycling after the hard day is pretty cool thing because sometimes you think like you are running out of the energy, but it's just that your brain is tired and your body is really not tired, but it's sending you a signal. I just want to go to bed. But if you go directly to cycle, I don't know, just to make a small I don't know lap, then you will feel definitely way better when you get back. And usually I found out that I have uh, a lot more energy than I thought that I have. And so it's kind of leveling, so your brain relaxes and your body gets tired, and it gets leveled.
I actually get lots of. It's funny because I usually cycle or run to switch off and to have a break from work. But I also quite often get ideas out of nowhere because if you're just like cycling along like a country road and you're not thinking about stuff, then sometimes it'll just pop into my head, oh, I should do this. So I do think, yeah, there have been times where I've just burned out from doing too much work. So I think it's really important that people like get lots of sleep and gets lots of exercise, and that's don't stay on your computer 20 hours a day. You need to get outside and get moving as well.
Yeah, and I agree. So a lot of this greenery and scenes around it can provoke some thoughts, but most of the time, if I'm running uphill, I'm like, why did I even start doing this? And then I'm repeating that, and no other thoughts are in
Yeah,
my in
true,
my
true. I
head.
get that as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was really pleasure to have you as my guest. I don't know. We said that there will be definitely some description links in the description where uh, what we spoke about it. But yeah, feel free. I don't know where people can find you to just to I don't know where can contact you. What you are offering. I don't know. You have plus 1 minute.
Yeah, why? I don't know if I can fit it all in. Yeah, so the interviews with developers about CS degrees is on nocsdegree.com. I've also got a job board and a bootcamp list, but I'm going to bring them all into that website together this month, basically. I do a personal blog on which is petecodes.io, and I'm on Twitter as Pete Codes, and I'm on Gumroad as Pete Codes. So that's like gumroad.com/Pete Codes. And yeah, send me a tweet or whatever if you've got any questions. And yeah, it's been really fun talking to you today.
Thanks for being my guest, and also you for the listener. Thanks for listening so far. Yeah, it was really my pleasure. We talked about CS degrees, but in general, we talked about making things with a computer without having a computer science degree. Yeah, that would be for this episode. Thanks and
Bye.
bye.